Hey y'all, it has been a long week. I did some flying and the way that things were at the airport and the computers shut down and all that. Got stuck a couple of places, had long sits and iffy flights, lots of delays and cancellations. So I'm just now getting to you. But I'm going to show you today how to make marshmallow fondant. And this is what I use if I'm covering my cakes or if I'm making little figurines for my cakes and things. And it's really simple to do. It does take a little bit of time, but I think it's something that anybody can do. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. I have a bag of marshmallows. This is a 10.5 ounce bag. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these into a pot on the stove. And I'm just going to turn the heat on this on low, just right about there. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. I'm going to try to do like 2 tablespoons. Now this is a half tablespoon measure, so it's going to take 4 of these. But this is the only thing that I'm putting in these marshmallows. Is just 4 half tablespoons of water, 2 tablespoons of water. So I'm going to let those start heating up, and while they're melting, what I'm going to do is sift some powdered sugar. Now I've just got a little sifter that I use over a bowl, and a lot of people don't sift their powdered sugar, but if I'm making fondant, I'm going to sift it, because if you start getting those little hard pieces of sugar and it beads up, your fondant's not going to be smooth. So what I'm going to do is, what I normally use is about 3/4 of a 2-pound bag. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of time, but I'm going to kind of save out some of this in the bottom because I'm not going to use the whole bag for this. But I'm just going to sift a little at a time. And this way you won't have lumps in your fondant. It'll be nice and light, and it'll be smooth whenever you get it ready. So I'm just gonna keep sifting my powdered sugar while I'm waiting on my marshmallows to melt. And like I said, this is nothing that is difficult to do. A lot of people get frustrated because it is very sticky at first, but you just have to figure out how to work with it. Grease your hands. I do make sure that everything is clean. I make sure I wash my hands, that I don't have any rings on or anything like that that would get germs in the fondant. So make sure that everything that you are working with is clean. And I just put all of my sugar into a big bowl because I'm going to put my marshmallow over into the bowl when I'm done. And if you can tell, I've held out that about a 1/4 of this bag of powdered sugar, because I don't need the whole bag for just one batch of marshmallow fondant. And of course, the fondant will be like a white, kind of off-white color, but you can add gel food coloring to it and make it any color you want it to be. So it's great to use for, kids' cakes, anything that's really colorful. And I'll show you on a later video different ways that you can use fondant to decorate with. In the meantime, let me check on these marshmallows, see if they're starting to melt. And as you can see, they're beginning to melt. They're getting kind of sticky. And that's what you want. You want them to melt all the way down. And it will take a few minutes. You don't want to melt them too quickly, because you don't want them to scorch or stick to the bottom of the pot. That's why I use a low heat, so that they do not scorch or stick to the pot. But I'm just going to finish melting these, and when they're melted, I'll come back and show you what they look like. All right, guys, I've got my marshmallows melted. See how they look nice and smooth now? Everything's completely melted. And I'm just going to pour these marshmallows into my powdered sugar. Now, some people add their coloring in the marshmallow phase. So they add it to the marshmallow before they put it into the powdered sugar. But I never know what all colors I'm going to want to use, and I don't want just one color. So I prefer to make mine white, and then I just go from there and make whatever colors I need. So that's the way I do it. Now, you know, like I said, to each his own. Everybody does their own thing, but this is the way I do it. Now this fondant, you know, some people have bought store-bought fondant and it works, you know, a lot of people use it. Sometimes it works even better, you know, than homemade, but it doesn't taste as good as homemade. Homemade always tastes much better. So that's what I tend to use. Something that tastes good, something that I know what is in it, and my grandkids love it. I've got a couple of sons who will eat just plain fondant, and I know it's terrible for you because it has all this sugar in it, but it does. It tastes so much better than that store-bought stuff. So what I'm going to do, and as I said, I do wash my hands frequently whenever I'm cooking, and I did wash my hands before I even began this. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of Crisco, and I'm going to rub it all over my hands. I'm going to get it in between my fingers, on the backs of my hands, all over my hands. And then I'm going to use my hands to get this off of the spoon, because it is very sticky, obviously, and some people get frustrated trying to make fondant because it's so sticky. But you know, it's not that bad if you just keep on using the powdered sugar. Keep your hands greased so that you can work with it. And do be careful whenever you start this, because if your marshmallow just came off the stove, it is going to be hot, obviously. So just be careful whenever you start mixing it. But you want this fondant to get mixed into this sugar, the marshmallow to get mixed into the sugar to form the fondant, and it'll make almost like a dough, and that's what you want. And as you can see, there are some lumps in there, and that's just where pieces of the marshmallow have separated into the powdered sugar. But you're going to knead this so you'll get the majority of the lumps out of it. So it's not going to be bad. But as you can see, it's kind of stretchy. And you keep on working with it like this. I'm going to try to pick up all the little pieces that have fallen down in there, because I don't like to waste it. Mix them back in. You see that? It's kind of stringing along there. And see, this is why I didn't use the whole bag of powdered sugar, because obviously you do not need the whole bag of sugar. But you just keep on stretching it and pulling it and kneading it. It's almost like making taffy or something, you know? It's got a lot of elasticity to it, and that's what you want, something that has a lot of elasticity to it. Now, if you're making this fondant to work on a cake with or to cover a cake with, I suggest making it the day before, because whenever it is hot and it's something you've just worked with, you do not need to work with a cake right then. So you've got to let it cool down, wrap it up in saran wrap or cling film or something, and then work with it the next day. It works much better that way. Okay guys, I have got this fondant about the way that you want it to be whenever you stop working with it. What you want is for you to be able to pull it and it not break. See that? That's what you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of form this into a flattened ball, or just flat. And then I'm going to wrap it up in plastic wrap. And I can use this tomorrow to do whatever I need to do for fondant figures or for covering a cake or whatever you want to use it for. But as you can see, it's very easy to make. And what I usually do if I'm coloring it, I'll just use Americolor gel colors. And sometimes it's hard to get the color that you want. These are fondant that I've made before. Now this is just chocolate fondant, and you just replace some of your powdered sugar with cocoa, which is still just as easy to do, just don't overdo it. But yeah, you just add your colors in, and then you can make it whatever color you want it to be, and make any kind of characters. The last cake I made was for my granddaughter, and I did strawberries on it. And then the cake before that I did for my niece, and it was Paw Patrol. So, you know, there's a lot of colors and that kind of thing. The strawberries were red and green, of course, and then Paw Patrol had all kinds of colors in there. But very simple to make. I still have a lot of powdered sugar left over. Some of it still has some marshmallow in there, but you know, I didn't mess with it. I didn't keep on fighting with it, trying to get it out, but it's still there. But you see how much it makes. That's about what you would buy in a container of fondant at the store if you were getting store-bought fondant, but this is so much better. Trust me, guys, you're gonna love this stuff. And if you are a cake baker and decorator like I am, this is the best. That's what, if you're making characters for the kids, they love it. It is so good. So there you go, marshmallow fondant, homemade.